Permanent residence or citizenship? If you're a permanent resident and you have the option to become a citizen, should you? Here we're going to discuss some of the advantages of each option and the differences between permanent residence and citizenship. Let's start by discussing the main differences between being a permanent resident and a US citizen. So permanent residency, or having a green card, is exactly what it sounds like. You have the right to permanently live in the US, you can work in the US, you'll get a social security number, you'll be on a pathway to citizenship, which you can choose or not choose to exercise in the future. But the main downside to residency is it's not permanent. You can always lose it. If you leave the US for too long, you may abandon it. If you're convicted of certain crimes, you can get deported. Nothing is guaranteed until you become a US citizen. Now, by contrast, US citizenship pretty much gives you the right to return to the US with your US passport for the rest of your life. Even if you leave for 10 years, you'll always be allowed back because you're a US citizen. Also, if you're convicted of serious crimes, you'll never lose your immigration status. I mean, you'll still go to prison, but you're a US citizen. You won't get deported from the United States. You also get some other benefits. You can vote or register to vote, and you'll be able to travel to other countries that have visa waiver reciprocity programs with the United States, and you won't need a visa to enter some of those countries. So based on the comparison between a green card and citizenship, it seems like become a citizen is the obvious choice, right? Well, not always. There are some examples in which you might choose to remain a permanent resident. Here are some examples. One, if you're from a country which doesn't allow dual citizenship and actually forces you to relinquish your original citizenship if you apply for citizenship in another country, you might choose to just remain a permanent resident so that you don't give up your original country of citizenship. Another example is when someone's been convicted of certain crimes as a permanent resident. Sometimes the Department of Homeland Security doesn't catch wind of the crimes, but they certainly will know about the crime if you apply for citizenship. So there are some situations in which a permanent resident might end up getting deported if they apply for citizenship, where otherwise they could have just done nothing and would have been remaining in the United States as a permanent resident. The third example is a little more complicated. It has to do with the US taxes. If you're a US resident or citizen living anywhere in the world, earning income anywhere, you still need to pay taxes in the United States. But some people choose to abandon their residency so they're not taxed on their foreign income. If you do that, you might find it easier to become a resident in the future versus a situation where if you are a citizen and you give up your citizenship, if you relinquish US citizenship, you're going to have a very hard time ever returning to the United States. It might be possible, but it's going to be infinitely more difficult in my experience. So let me give you an example of what I mean. I met somebody who was a permanent resident but was working abroad, and he had a US citizen wife. And he actually chose to abandon his permanent residence because he was making a ton of money and the US was taxing him on it. He abandoned it knowing that in the future he could probably petition to become a permanent resident again using his US citizen wife. Now, if this guy was a US citizen, it would have been really hard for him to relinquish his citizenship and have a pathway back to the United States in the future. Now, with all of that said, and those few rare examples where someone might choose not to become a US citizen, I would say that the vast majority of people opt to become a US citizen as soon as they become eligible. And there are some obvious reasons for this. First of all, you never lose your citizenship, unless possibly if you obtained it through some sort of fraud, but it's very rare. Once you're a citizen, you're pretty much a citizen for life. Another reason is, as people get older, they might choose to live in a different country. And if you're a resident and you're living in a foreign country, you're going to eventually lose your residency because you're not permanently residing in the United States. But let's say you just became eligible for your Social Security benefits after being a resident here for many years. Now you become a citizen, you can leave and live in a cheaper country and still receive your benefits, which you're entitled to. So there are definite benefits. Another one is you can petition for people as an immediate relative. If you're a US citizen and you petition for a spouse or a parent, that's an immediate relative petition. Things like unlawful presence or unauthorized employment won't affect the immigrant beneficiary because this is the strongest type of family petition available in immigration world. If you've made it this far into the video, then this is clearly something you're interested in. I'll leave you with one last tip. If you've ever been convicted of any crime in the United States, you must speak with an immigration lawyer before you apply for citizenship. I have seen way too many people apply for citizenship by themselves and end up in deportation proceedings because they actually weren't eligible. And now they need to pay way more for an immigration lawyer. So don't end up in that situation. And guys, if you're new to the channel, I'll create another video like this next week, so be sure to subscribe.